Hi, I'm Christy Flynn.
And I'm Dr. Alex Fennelly. Today on Cooking from Scratch, we are doing a pork roast with green apples and sauerkraut served on a bed of parsnip puree,
As well as dairy-free turtle cheesecake minis. Come on, let's get started. Each of our episodes of Cooking from Scratch has some sort of inspiration or theme behind it. This particular episode has to do with somebody who needed to incorporate more fermented foods to their diet, as well as having some of the food allergies.
Yeah.
What are some of those food allergies?
So this person's food allergies were chicken, dairy, wheat, potatoes, and tomatoes. So we will be avoiding all of those in our recipes today. And also it was based off of their stool sample that indicated that they needed to add more fiber and fermented foods into their diet. So
Poop tells you a lot.
it really does. It's
Really
one of my
does.
favorite tests to read.
So fermented foods. Tell us a little more. Why are fermented foods something that they would want to add? What is that doing?
Yeah, so fermented foods are really just going to support your healthy microbiome in the body, okay? They're going to help feed that good bacteria.
So in other words, we need to make friends with our bacteria inside and out. I can't resist. It's all about poop. This episode is all about poop, brought to you by... Why is it important to incorporate fermented foods in the diet? What is this doing to our bodies that is beneficial?
Sure. These fermented foods are really going to help support a healthy, normal microbiome. And so if someone is lacking that, it's going to help feed that good bacteria that they already have and help that, proliferate in the body. The best way to tell if they're lacking is on their stool sample. And in this person's case, that's exactly where we got that information.
Well, let's get started with our two recipes for the day.
So I'm going to get started with the parsnip puree. We chose parsnips today over doing like a mashed potato bed for the pork roast, simply based on the patient's allergies. It's not that parsnips necessarily have a lot less starch or sugars, but again, according to their food allergies, this is what's going to work best. So I had already peeled these and just roughly chopped them. We're going to put them into the water and bring them to a boil, and then add some sea salt, and then we're going to let those simmer for 20 minutes just to soften them up before we put them in the food processor. Get a little salt in here. We'll bring those to a boil, and then we'll get those covered. As we're waiting for those to boil, I'm going to prep the roast. I feel like this seems very involved, but it's one of the most simple recipes that I have. So basically we're just...
Pork.
Yes, pork roast, yep.
So how do you choose pork? I know pork is not an easy thing to find clean. It's all about your sourcing. So what is your best suggestion? What are they looking for?
Yes, you are looking for pasture-raised pork so that they are able to naturally forage in their natural environment. You don't want them caged or, that's the biggest buzzword that you're looking for is pasture-raised.
Because they have a lot of fat around them.
Yes, and that will hold the toxins in.
Exactly.
So, yep. Even if it's organic, what is that feed actually looking like? You want to make sure that even if it's organic feed, if you've got corn allergies, you're eating essentially what that pig is eating. So just something to take it a step deeper and to be careful about.
That is an important thing to note, because sometimes people, they may still be reacting to something and not realize, what about what what is that sourcing? It's so important to know your farmers and know the sourcing of your food. So if you have a corn allergy, I mean, who knew? You would never have known. It could have been the actual animals that are being fed the corn that you end up eating, and so your body
When you're eating meats, you really have to take it one step further and look at what that animal is consuming. Like I said, you're going to consume whatever they're consuming. So Yes, that's the rule of thumb there, like I said, the buzzword. So first we're going to make a bed of green apples and onions. You can use any kind of onion that you want. We've got a yellow onion here, and then I chose green apples. In the fall, I definitely love to use Honeycrisp and shake it up, but green apples give us a little bit less sugar. So that's why I chose that today. So
does it change the flavor at all?
No, I don't think so, really. Nope. So we're just gonna take a little bit of the onions here.
You are serious about a bed. You're making a bed.
I'm making a bed. And then once it's cooked, it's going on another bed. This will just add some juices at the bottom once everything starts cooking down. Typically put the fat on top so everything again can venture down, and then we are going to add in now the sauerkraut. So we are going to top the pork with the sauerkraut. Again, this is adding in that fermentation and also that fiber. So
sauerkraut, do we have to look for anything special? I know it's really easy to make sauerkraut.
Yes, you can make sauerkraut. It really...
Water, salt.
Yep.
Cabbage.
Yep.
That's it.
And a mandolin is the key to sauerkraut. So you can put a very, very decent amount of sauerkraut. The more sauerkraut, the better, in my opinion.
So you're putting the juice in there too?
Just a little bit of that juice, and then we will add in some coconut sugar. You can add as much or little or none, you know, if you're going no sugar. Put that on top just for a little extra flavor here. And then we are going to put this in the oven at 325. This is a 3-pound roast, so we're gonna put it in for about 3 hours.
Now we lay this roast to rest and pray that it really tastes the best. You know?
Oh my gosh, that was awesome. While we've got the parsnips simmering and the roast cooking, we have now the turtle cheesecakes.
Now, to get started with a dairy-free turtle cheesecake, you need dairy-free caramel. So going dairy-free. So I've had to go dairy-free for a very, very, very long time. And when I started to actually write the recipes down, that's why I felt it was really important to include it in our cookbook. Going dairy-free is not easy. There are alternatives. And once you seek out those alternatives, you know, it kind of opens your world up. But until that point, it kind of can get you a little paralyzed.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure that you have some options when it comes to desserts, when it comes to regular foods, so you know how to navigate the dairy-free lifestyle. So getting started with the dairy-free caramel, really easy peasy. We're taking the coconut cream. So coconut cream comes in a can. Either full-fat coconut cream in a large can or the teeny tiny little ones that say coconut cream. They're not all created equal, but for this recipe, I'm just letting you know, it doesn't matter if it's one that doesn't necessarily whip up. You're not going to be whipping it. They're good. It's going to be melting. So it doesn't matter. For this, what I basically did, I took two or three, I think, of the little tiny coconut cream cans. So it's approximately 3/4 of a cup of coconut cream. And it does not matter if you end up with a little bit of that liquid that's in there. Doesn't matter. You're melting it down.
Yeah, like you said, you're not whipping it up this time.
Exactly.
You don't want that liquid with whipping.
Correct. Yeah. And so 3/4 of a cup of coconut sugar. So again, making this dessert is not no sugar friendly, just letting you know. There is definitely coconut sugar in here and some honey. It's about, I believe, 1/4 cup of honey.
And because of several ingredients you use with this one, you can't make it a no sugar version, right?
No,
because of the dates and the honey and
Yeah. So this is one of those recipes. It's definitely not something you can do on no sugar, but it is an amazing treat for all the other times. Okay, so what we're going to do is put this on the stove and we're going to bring it to, I guess, a boil. It's going to get really kind of bubbly and frothy, and you're going to keep stirring for about 10 minutes. About that, you'll be able to see what it starts to kind of cook down a little bit and gets a little thicker. And at that point, then it'll be done. So we'll be right back. While we're waiting for the caramel to finish up simmering, so I brought it to a boil, and then it's going to simmer now at a lower temperature for about 10 minutes. So while we're waiting for that, we're gonna make the crust of these amazing dairy-free cheesecake minis. So you can actually, originally this recipe, I use a regular springform pan, so like the normal large size. So this was just a play on the recipe I already used to something that you can use more for entertaining, which is kind of fun.
Bite size.
Bite size.
I like it.
These are the minis, the bite size. You can also do regular cupcake size if you want to. But these are just super fun because you just pop them in your mouth.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. Hardly any ingredients when it comes to this crust. It's super simple. You've got dates, so about a cup of dates, pitted. Again, we don't want pre-pitted dates. Get the organic medjool dates. And pit them, and you're gonna pop them in a food processor.
So I know sometimes you soak your dates. Did you soak these ones?
I did not soak them this time because...
You don't want the cream, is that?
Yeah, I did not want... So I soak them when I make like a pudding. But in this case, I want the stickiness to help with the crust. It's gonna help them stick together. So about a cup of pecans. Again, you can use whatever nuts. If you have an allergy to pecans, you could use walnuts. You could use almonds. You could, whatever nut that you would like to use. I like the idea of pecans because turtles. So turtles, pecans, turtles, caramel, all that kind of thing. So go ahead and put those in. Cacao. So because I wanted to add a little bit of chocolate flavor within this recipe, instead of, now could you drizzle some chocolate on the top? You can do whatever you want. I just decided that I wanted to put the chocolate part of it in the base, so in the crust. So I've got about 2 tablespoons of cacao. Now that's raw cacao, superfood, lots of great properties. You don't want to just use cocoa. We're talking raw cacao.
If you're going to use an ingredient, rather than using cocoa, versus cacao, get some therapeutic benefit to it, right?
Yeah, so it's all about remember, adding nutrients. We're always about adding nutrients wherever we can. So sea salt, not all salt is made equal.
No.
We want sea salt, a Celtic salt or
Himalayan. When they tell you to avoid salt, what their meaning is table salt.
And this one I'm gonna pulse.
Okay.
You've got nuts and dates. It's gonna shake a little bit. It's okay. That's when I know it's done. So it kind of it was all kind of going, and then all of a sudden it kind of settled down and got a little quiet. That's when I know it's done. You'll have just little pebbles, and it's perfectly distributed. You don't have big clumps of dates in there. So next, one of my favorite wellness way herbs, ashwagandha. What are they?
It's a great adaptogen for your adrenals. Do you need some help with your adrenals, ma'am?
This is something I absolutely love. My husband has me on this one for sure. You might be wondering, what are we doing with an herb, ashwagandha, with doing cheesecake minis?
Crust.
I'm making the crust. Here, let me show you. Now, you can use any of the herbs, but I got this trick because I was trying to find something that worked to press it down inside. This shape is perfect for that. So you just kind of take it and you press it on in.
Perfect.
Ah!
So I see you're not really pressing it down that hard. You're just kind of compacting it.
Yep.
Okay.
I'm just compacting it down at the bottom. It just comes together and it's nice, a little flat base.
Handy dandy little trick there.
You can use any of your herbs for it. It just happens to be the right size. So the dairy-free caramel is almost ready. There's one last step. So you're going to want to add a little bit of fat. So this can be either lard or tallow or a dairy-free butter or goat butter, whatever you're able to do. You're just gonna put that in.
So what are you using here?
I am just using a dairy-free butter. I have an allergy, of course. I have a dairy allergy, but I can't do goat either. I do use tallow. I've used tallow before in this, and it works just fine. And so that is just helping to keep everything creamy and together. Once it sets, it just becomes this really yummy.
It smells so good.
Yes, it does. It smells like a candy factory. Or if you've ever been to Mackinac Island, you know, when you
That's
smell
what it smells like.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
I like making my kitchen smell like Mackinac Island. Not the horse poop I'm talking about. I'm talking about like the fudge and the caramel and the chocolate. Yeah. If you've ever been there, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So at this point, when you make caramel, you can put it in a jar, cover the jar, you know, screw it tight, put it in the fridge. It can store for quite a while. It stores for really, I mean, it's ready-made caramel, and as long as you have it sealed, it should be good for a while. I'm gonna leave it out though, because I want it to stay kind of more of a drizzly texture. When you do put it in the fridge, it will harden up. And that's not a bad thing, that you just leave it out for a while and it'll get soft again. So the filling, once again, this is a dairy-free cheesecake. So you had to come up with something that is gonna resemble that same texture without, well, I look at it this way. I wanna add nutrients. I wanna be able to use items that are gonna add nutrients to our bodies. So instead of just going with a alternative dairy cream cheese, which you could make something like that, that's an option, but what is in that as far as nutrients? You know, I tend to like to go with, I know a lot of the recipes in the cookbook, there are a lot of these raw recipes. I know a lot of people are looking forward to like all these baking things. There's a few in there, but I want to let you know why.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, and two, when you're looking at dairy-free options, it's no different than gluten-free options. Sometimes just because they're gluten-free or dairy-free certainly does not mean they're healthy. Not all dairy-free, gluten-free items are created equal.
No, they aren't. So I tend to stick with raw desserts. So what does it mean by raw dessert? It means we always like to believe that keeping food items in the way that God created them, like as close to that way, is best for eating them. Like, so in their whole food form. So when it comes to nuts, or this particular cheesecake, it's made with cashews. That's the primary ingredient. And then all of the ingredients, I don't bake this cheesecake. It's nuts and honey and coconut cream and lemon, and you know, like they're all whole food ingredients. So you're not changing their nutritional properties at all. And this is, I mean, these are things to think about, and they taste delicious. So why not do it? As long as you don't have a cashew allergy, as long as you don't have a coconut allergy. Now, can you substitute some things? You can. You can try to substitute, I mean, I tried to substitute macadamia nuts for,
I feel like that would be
but you gotta find them unsalted, or it's just not gonna work. It's gonna be way too salty. So if you can find some that are unsalted, that would be a great option.
So I see that you've been soaking these. How long did you soak them for, and why do you soak them?
Okay, so I soaked my cashews overnight. I did it overnight. It's just kind of part of my routine. It just makes it easier.
Sure.
I mean, really, you want it at least 4 to 5 hours. For me, if I know I'm gonna make it the next day, or prepping it for the next day to freeze for the next day, I mean, it depends. I have timelines that I'll use, but it's just so easy to just soak them overnight, and then they're good to go for the next morning. And because they soaked that long, you're gonna see, they are so creamy, it's amazing. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna pull over the Vitamix. I absolutely love my Vitamix. So for making the filling, the first thing we need to do is strain off the water from your soaking cashews. So soaking them overnight, sometimes in the morning, they've like absorbed so much water. I just add some more water until I'm ready to do it. Now, why do I soak my nuts? Well, I soak them overnight for convenience, but anything sprouted gives more nutritional value.
Yes.
So
you break it down easier, you digest it easier. It's just easier on your entire digestive system. So
because the lady in question, when she had asked us about what she needed, was fermented foods, things that were easier to digest because of her different things that she was dealing with for her
She
health
needed
goals.
stress off of her GI system, and when you're going to incorporate nuts into a recipe, soaking them will allow that stress to, or you're just not adding more stress to the GI system. So
I'm gonna add, this is about, actually what this is about a half a cup, maybe a little more. It's essentially one of those cans of classic coconut milk. I allowed the cream to come to the top by putting in the fridge overnight, and I just took all of the solid. As you saw, there was a little bit of liquid. Again, this is not one of those recipes you have to worry about where there's liquid and it's not gonna whip up fine. We are blending it, totally fine if there's a little liquid in there. But so the amount of coconut cream is just the perfect amount to be able to put in here. It may be a little bit more, a little less than about a half a cup, but I just put a measurement in there because I needed to put a measurement down. It's my best guess. Now, coconut oil. Coconut oil, you want unrefined virgin coconut oil.
cold pressed.
Cold pressed. This is one of those things you don't do the expeller pressed. If you, I know like expeller pressed can be cheaper. Again, it's cheaper for a reason. The flavor that goes along with it sometimes is more metallic and machiny. That's from my experience. You want to go with a really great quality coconut oil. Now I say to melt it. The reason why I usually melt it is it just makes it easier to like blend up super fast. Where would you melt coconut oil? On the stove, in a steam oven, not in a microwave.
Nope, I just do it in the oven.
Yeah, in the oven. So we want a lemon. It's a 1/4 cup of lemon juice. Typically what I found is 1 large lemon. So that's typically what I'll use regardless. This is my favorite juicer. It's so effective.
Because it keeps it right in there.
It
The
keeps it
seeds
right
are
in.
popping out right now. That's
Seeds
awesome.
are all right here. Great for your disposal. That's a disposal cleaner right there. Blend her down in. Everything stays all confined. It's all in there. It's not messy. The only thing I have like a little strainer. So I'm just gonna take this and strain it right in.
Awesome.
We have, what do I have? A half cup. Now you can use maple syrup or honey. I prefer to use raw honey. But once in a while, I'll use some maple syrup, especially if I've gotten like some fresh maple syrup from somebody. They're interchangeable, so whatever you have on hand, go ahead and interchange them. They interchange equally. Finishing up the filling, everything is in the blender. Now can be frustrating at times, but basically you want this all to come together and you want to almost not forget about it and leave it, but in a way a little bit, because you want it to go long enough. You may have to like stop it, shake it down, scrape down the sides. I don't necessarily scrape down the sides, but I'll like shake it down for sure. And it will become this really amazing creamy texture. There won't be any clumps in it whatsoever. So that's what you're looking for. So it may mean you need to let it go for a while.
Patience.
Patience, right? Okay, so what I was looking for as it was finishing up, I still would see like a few little clumps coming in off the sides, down the middle, and then it was just pure creaminess. Yeah. So that's when you know it's done. Also, if you open it up and you notice like, oh, it wasn't quite as creamy. Oh, like look at this. We actually have a little bit of coconut oil that's sitting here off to the side and some coconut cream. Just gonna push that in and run it just a little bit here. There.
Very nice.
So the next step is of course pouring this into your little minis. Now, one batch, so like if you notice I had some of the bottom part for the crust, there was enough like left over. You can do 2 of these pans. Now, as far as how you do this, totally up to you.
I was just gonna ask.
I've like each time I just kind of create a rhythm at some point and just kind of go with it, but definitely have a spatula on hand. And I just pour it until it's about nearly full. That one's a little full. Just nearly full, and move on to the next one. And if it's messy, it's messy. It's okay. They're not going to see that part. Once you have all the filling in all of the little mini cups, the next part is adding a little bit of a caramel swirl. Give your caramel a little bit of a stir just to incorporate everything and make sure that it's all gelled together well. And you're going to want to use a spoon that is a little narrow, because you're just going to put like just a little dollop on the top of each of these. And then we're going to take a toothpick and you're going to swirl the caramel in, so you have a little bit of caramel flavor within your cheesecake. Then you'll be able to put this into the freezer. You're going to want that to chill for at least an hour or two. You can have it chill overnight if you want to. So this is how I can get some prep done ahead of time. Or so let's say I soaked the nuts, I made it this morning, I will have it in the freezer until like I'm going to serve it in the evening, and then I'm able to bring it out and put the rest of the toppings on it and be able to serve it. So awesome.
Okay, so now that our parsnips are fork tender, you can leave them to simmer for about 20-25 minutes. I usually just check to see when they're fork tender, and that's where we're going to pull them off. So we're going to drain them, the parsnips, into the food processor. Same thing, you can use a Vitamix. So I just get it going a little bit, and then I pull this off. We're going to add in I'm doing ghee in this case. Ghee, if you're dairy free, you can still have ghee because it pulls that protein out of it once the butter is clarified. You could do coconut oil. I just didn't use coconut oil for this one. I just didn't want that heavy coconut flavor paired with the meal that I'm serving this with. But otherwise, that's a great option. If you can have butter, grass-fed butter is a great option too. It makes it nice and creamy. So you can do like 3 to 4 tablespoons of that. Let that melt down a little bit. And then I am going to start with just a little bit of salt. And then give it another. Yeah, you want it nice and creamy. I'm just going to give it a little stir here and see what we're working with in terms of chunks. So parsnip puree is served really good warm, obviously, in this case, again, with the pork roast. I love cooling them down, putting them in the fridge, having them as a leftover, but you add a little bit of cinnamon to them. Again, they're just really sweet, and they have such a creamy texture. So now I'm gonna add in just a little bit, just a touch, half a cup of coconut milk to kind of top it off. We'll give it one more little mix.
Can you use just about any?
Yes, my favorite milk to use is either coconut or milkadamia. Some unsweetened milkadamias have a little bit of vanilla in there, so that pairs really well with this as well.
So you want to go with unsweetened, but okay, I understand. Because I was just going to say, I know whenever I'm doing a non-dairy milk alternative in my recipes, I always make sure it's unsweetened, so it doesn't accidentally, you put something in that has like sweet and you didn't want it to be sweet and it throws off the whole. But in this case, it actually pairs well to have a little vanilla or something like that if it has it in it.
Yep, yeah, you can do that. And again, you can get unsweetened vanilla flavored milks. I have also used the same recipe with the coconut fat that you used for the turtle cheese. Yep. Add a little bit more salt to that. I'll give that another mix, and then we're gonna check on the roast.
So the last step of your dairy-free turtle cheesecakes is the glazed nuts. Now, glazed nuts, you can use just about any nut and make them into a healthy treat that is a little sweet treat.
Yeah.
I've used walnuts, I've used pecan. We're using pecans for this one because obviously the pecan is the part of the turtle. So what you do ahead of time, so I already toasted these, a low temperature, about 300, 325, for about 10 minutes. You'll know that they're done because they have this amazing sweet nutty aroma. Yeah, you will definitely know when they're done. So pull them out, let them cool, And now we're going to set this aside, but first we're gonna make the glaze. We're gonna heat it up in a saucepan. So you want about 1/4 cup of honey, and then add up to a teaspoon of cinnamon. You don't have to add the cinnamon, that is optional. So if you choose that you don't want to, go ahead and omit it, not a big deal. It's gonna start frothing up. And once it's nice and frothy, you're gonna add in your pecans, stir them up really well, and then we're going to transfer them back into that parchment covered pan. And now that parchment covered pan that you had used, just use it again.
Oh, that smells so good. That cinnamon.
Yeah, I do love adding the cinnamon. It reminds me of when you go, see how they're getting really, really sticky to each other. Kind of want to separate them so that they can crisp up really nicely. So what I do from here, oh goodness, you want to hold that guy? Yeah, they're like it's really sticky. I just want to make sure they're not jumping on each other here. From here, I'm going to put them in an oven just for another 5 to 7 minutes at 350, and they crisp up very nicely. And when those are done, we will take them out and let them cool. If they haven't finished crisping up, they will then. As soon as they cool, they get all crunchy and crispy, and then you're gonna break those apart, and that'll be part of your topping.
So we've got the roast out of the oven and everything plated. With the roast, when it comes out, you just wanna shred it, let it absorb in those juices. If you want to, you can even broil it for an extra 10 minutes, let those tips get a little bit crispy if you feel like they need that. It's not required or a necessity, but just a fun little way to change up the texture if you want to. But I do leave the apples, the onions, and a lot of sauerkraut on the plate when I plate them. A little side note with the roast, you know, we did it in the oven today, but you can certainly do it in any kind of crock pot. We usually use a VitaClay, it's a non-toxic crock pot, so that's always a good option. So as quick as this meal was doing it in the oven, you know, if you need to leave for the day, go grocery shopping, you know, you can put it in the VitaClay and not think about it for 4 hours. So yeah, and then you just put it on a bed of the parsnip puree, and we put a little bit of chives for some fun color on there.
And as far as our little minis, so you can pop them out. Now for plating, you can make yourself a display, however you want to do it. Like I said, if you choose to make it, I did these in the mini version. You can also make a large version, but I always finish these off the exact same way. So I wanted to show. So those nuts, after they cool, I put them in a little baggie and I whack them. Whatever you need to do to crush them. You want to crush them into like little bite-sized tiny pieces. A slotted spoon, this is the trick.
That's a great trick.
Slotted spoon.
Great trick.
And you're gonna take your caramel. So we're gonna drizzle right across all of them. Like so. And then we take our glazed nuts and we're gonna sprinkle that on the top. Never can have too much. Go ahead and put that on, but it also looks absolutely beautiful.
Very
and it's so simple to do, and they're dairy-free. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Cooking from Scratch. As you know, each episode we focus on a certain inspiration or theme to our show.
Yes, and this episode we focused on a patient that needed to incorporate more fiber into her diet, more fermented foods based on her stool sample and her testing, and then also her food allergies. So again, today we had the pork roast with green apples and sauerkraut on a bed of parsnip puree.
And the dairy-free turtle cheesecake minis. So dealing with a dairy allergy can sometimes be a little daunting, but we're here to help.